Just went over very quickly level 1, level 2, level 3. Can you just quickly explain that?
Yeah, so I know I'm moving pretty fast. So if you ever need me to repeat anything, just let me know or dive into detail. So with inspection levels, there's a spec called ISO 2859. And ISO essentially stands for International Organization of Standards, which is really funny because they're ISO, not iOS. So it just doesn't really make sense. I thought they were like International Standards Organization, but no, International Organization of Standards. And they have two specs. They have a spec called 9001, which is for more of internal processes, things like that. Then they have a spec which is ISO 2859. And ISO 2859 is essentially just a statistical model. That's essentially what it is. And they've essentially spent tens of millions of dollars building out the statistical model to determine exactly what is the lowest number of units you can test when it comes to quality control inspections. This could be internal processes. It could be quality control products, physical products. There's a lot of applications for this. But what's the lowest number of units to test while still being statistically significant? So essentially what that is that there's three levels on that system. There's four more. There's special levels, but those really don't matter unless you're doing like specific tests. There's core levels of level 1, level 2, and level 3. Now, if you're selling to like Home Depot, Target, a lot of times they'll ask you for like a level 2 inspection report every single order. So that's kind of the normal level. Level 3 is kind of a more detailed inspection. That's what we generally recommend for Amazon sellers, just because you have a higher risk of negative reviews, 4x higher return rates, things like that. And a level 1 inspection is meant to be just a very light inspection. So just a very quick and dirty type of inspection. So those are the three levels per se. And then the AQL part of it. So when you hear level 3 AQL, AQL stands for Acceptable Quality Limit, which is also part of the ISO 2859 spec. And basically AQL uses similarly a statistical model. And let me go back real quick to the levels. Levels are not percentages. So that's a big misconception that people have. It's like, hey, level 3 for 1,000 units is say 125 units. People think, okay, that's 12.5%. So if I do 2,000 units, it's 250 units. If I do 500 units, it's half of that. And that's not true. So the statistical model is based on a statistical table. It's not correlated to percentages at all. So if you have a small order, you're just doing a few hundred units, it could be as high as 50%. If you have a much larger order, you're doing a couple tens of thousands of units, it could be as low as 0.5%. So there's a big variation to it. So don't confuse level system with the percentage system. And also when you do an inspection, you can have a core sample size, which is say for the visual inspection, opening up the products, checking the products. And that's a level 3 inspection, say for example. But when you do individual product tests, you can do those product tests on different sample sizes. So if you have like a wear and tear product test, you might only do that on 1 to 3 units. You may not want to do that on all of the products because they'll break. So there are sample sizes for each individual test. So that's why we recommend doing function tests on the exact same sample size, because you want to test for that function on all of the units. And if you're not doing that, like you're, for example, doing an inspection from Alibaba, they just check 1 to 3 units for function. That's not statistically significant, and you can't actually make sure that those results are dependable. So it's really important to make sure that you're inspecting the entire sample size and you're doing your entire inspection statistically significant and not just the visual inspection part. So just a little bit of background.